Welcome, everyone, to a brand new show. I am Vector, and I am excited, ecstatic, elated to talk to you today because I have two of my favorite dads in the entire world, besides my own. I think these are my favorite dads. We have to my left here, Kevin Call, Santa Call. How you doing, Kevin?
What's up, everybody? Merry Sithmas.
Woo! And to Kevin's left, Shoff, Jimmy Shoffman. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. And you know what? Thank you for saying my full name because now the serial killer can find me. That's been trying to
Whoa!
find. No, but seriously, no one's like, Schaff? What the heck is that? What's that? That's a weird name. It's part of my last name. Just get over it, okay?
Yes, that's how
Fair.
we affectionately refer to him here in the Dadverse. But we are three very busy dads, and we love to talk to each other. And we said, you know what? Why don't we record our conversations? Because I think we have
Mm.
some interesting, some funny, some insightful conversations between the three of us. We all have very busy lives. We all have families, children, things that we love, and we want to talk about those things. So that's what this whole podcast is going to be about, whether it's our love of sci-fi, movies, television, video games, comic books, Clemson football. We're going to
Mm.
throw everything in there. The things that we love, we're going to talk about them here. And we also want to put a little scope, a microscope, through the lens of being a very busy dad. So that's what this show is going to be about. Dads to the future. Shoff, why don't you explain the title? Because you are the chief creative officer. All
That's
the
right.
creative choices go through you. What is Dads to the Future? What does that mean?
So it's a maybe a triple entendre.
Whoa.
Ooh, I know you like that double, but we
Oh,
got the triple up in here. So yeah, so obviously, Back to the Future is the most obvious thing right there, right? So
Mhm.
the font, all of it screams Back to the Future, which is a movie we love, we adore, we grew up
please
with.
don't sue us. Thank you.
Yes, right. Um, but in addition to just that, and also that representing the type of content that we cover, which is movies and television. Obviously, there was a cartoon Back to the Future show, and video games and things like that. Like the gamut of entertainment is where that kind of fits in. But in addition to that, um, we are dads. And we
Mm.
are dads to the future being our children. Our children are the future. And in that sense, we wanted to kind of encapsulate that into our brand and this channel. So we're really excited to bring you some awesome dad content and do so in a unique way, and very exciting.
Yeah, and I want to add too, to the audience out there that, because we're three busy dads, like, and we're friends, we don't often get a chance to have this community all the time. And the other thing is we're geographically sparse, right? We're all in different locations. So this podcast is for you guys out there who are looking for community, looking for connection, want to connect with dads. You are a dad, and you enjoy and love the same things we are. That's the heart of this show. That's what we're all about. And so welcome to the friendship, the
Oh
fellowship.
yeah. Yes. I can't wait. Hopefully, we'll be expanding this show to include topics, segments where we talk
Hmm.
about things like, all right, hey, we just saw the Penguin on HBO Max, and how does the Penguin relate to being a dad? What are the things that we see in the Penguin that,
Hmm.
oh, if he had a father figure, if we were the father of the Penguin, how would that shape it and change it? So those are going to be evolving things that we talk about on this show. But for this first episode, I wanted to get to know the dads. I wanted to let us share something with the audience, give them a background for who we are, and then that will go as a
Hmm.
baseline forward for the next couple episodes for the following shows and weeks. So why don't we start with Mr. Kevin Call? Give us some background. Who is Kevin Call? Who is that guy?
Who is Kevin Call? Well, first off, I am 39 years old, about to hit the 40 here in early 2025. So super excited about that. Um, I am a Southerner. I live in Memphis, Tennessee, and so love my Southern culture. Um, I am. a middle child, so I have been going to therapy for a very long time dealing with that syndrome. Um, I have a little sister and an older brother, and so definite therapy for sure. Married almost 10 years and have two little boys, a 5-year-old who just turned 5 on Thanksgiving, and a almost 3-year-old who will be 3 in March. So that's my family. I have lived in Memphis most of my life, and I do marketing for a living. Specifically, I specialize in marketing investments and return on investment on marketing spend and omni-channel media investments. That's what I do for a living, and I love it. I have a great time. I enjoy it. I have been a geek for a very, very long time, since I can remember, and it stems with my father. I remember sitting on the floor of our house, the big giant tube TVs that we used to have back then that weighed like 10,000 pounds.
Yeah.
And my dad put in Star Wars, and that was the game changer for me. And then after that, it was like the Superman movie, Christopher Reeves, another game changer, and then Indiana Jones, and then Star Trek Wrath of Khan, and it just evolved from there. And I was like, well, it doesn't get much better than this now, does it? So that's my love of movies and entertainment, and blockbuster cinema, and all those kind of things just stems from my relationship with my dad. Gosh, what else? What else is there? Huge college football fan. I think that's like part of being a Southerner is like it's like rooted deeply down here. Like every Saturday you have ESPN game day on. You're talking about the SEC.
I would not do well in Memphis.
No. Yeah, but love the college football. My wife is a Clemson graduate, so we are a Clemson household. So hence the Clemson drop in the intro there by Vactor. So yeah, if I'm not talking about movies, I'm talking about college football, at least during this seasonal time of year. Somewhat of an NFL fan, but not much. I like players, but I don't like teams. Man, there's a lot. I feel like there's a lot about me. Trying to think of a very interesting fun fact. What's a good fun fact about Kevin? I do impressions. I've written screenplays, and yeah, I got to hang out with Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman at Comic-Con one year. So that's another fun fact about
I
me.
remember that. That was
Yeah.
an excellent time.
The manure.
Yes. So that is Kevin Call. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing. Mr. Jimmy Schaffman. Schaff, who is the Schaff?
He's elusive. He's mysterious. He's
Really is.
sexy. You be the judge. No, I am.
He's also single, ladies.
That's right. Yes, I am 41 years old, and old being the key. I have just white. It's just white hair at this point. I can't even say it's like salt and pepper, like Kevin over here or Vactor, Mr. Eternal Youth. The dude doesn't age. But me, on the other hand, I have been hit by Father Time a few too many times in the face. So yeah, but that's what that is. But anyways, I have two beautiful daughters. I am the dad of a 4-year-old and a 2.5-year-old, both girls. I'm a girl dad. It is a very different experience than what Rev, Kev, and Vactor will attest to. I often wonder what it would have been like if I had had a boy, a son of my own, who could also be, enjoying the geeky things that I like. Because there'll be the occasional time that my daughters will want to watch something like Spidey and His Amazing Friends or something on Disney Plus, or they'll want to play Legos with me or something and I'll like jump at those opportunities. I'm like, oh, let's do it. But most of the time I'm doing something fairly girly with the girls as a result. So I'm very in touch with my feminine side, for any available women out there. And
likes long walks on the beach.
Yeah.
And
I was born in Chi-Town. I moved to Arizona. I've lived in many different cities in Arizona. Moved to Colorado, then moved to Washington. I'm currently in Washington, in the western side of Washington, sort of, I would say, closer to Mount Rainier. Puget Sound area. Don't love it. I don't love the rain. It's not my favorite, but we do what we can. Girls are in preschool and doing well, and a lot of fun, a lot of work. I am co-parenting, so like Rev Kev said, I'm a single dad, but we're a very effective team in our co-parenting. So that'll be like my contribution is what it's like to be a dad when it's in a separated household type scenario, which is a whole nother, you know,
Yeah.
a whole nother bag. It's a whole different thing with its own challenges. And I've been on the other side too, and like the same household and all that. So like I know that life too. But I don't want to belabor anything, but I just want to say like I love like all the stuff except for sports. I am not a sports fan. I will make up fake stats to be a part of the conversation, but I am not a sports fan unless it's Michael Jordan. And who doesn't like Michael Jordan? Because I'm from Chicago, so I'm allowed to like the Bulls, and it's not a fair weather type situation.
No doubt.
And I love all geek stuff, especially Legos. I'm a Lego maniac. Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, DC. Yeah, and I love playing Fortnite with Vactor. So Vactor, it's your turn. Tell us about who you are, sir.
Oh yeah. Well, I am the youngest of the group. I am 42 years old, and I have a beautiful wife, a beautiful son. He is 3.5. He's going to be turning 4 in March. So we're coming up, and
Okay, she just left the room. Now tell us how you really feel. I'm just kidding.
debating on more children.
He's
at the
debating.
moment, but we
He's a
we
master
shall
debater.
see on that one. I do enjoy all geek things, comics, video games, television, movies, sci-fi, and I would say I am a casual sports fan. I grew up a huge NBA fan. I wanted to be in the NBA when I was younger, but I have kind of I'm like Kevin. I like players. I don't really like teams. So if a player goes to another team, I'm not beholden to the previous team that he was on. I follow the players. My wife and I were actually just watching on HBO Max. They have Hard Knocks, which is a
Yeah.
documentary about the NFL, and they're doing the Steelers. The
Oh,
current one
yeah.
it's AFC North. So they're doing 4 teams. But my wife was like, they're doing the Steelers, and I was like, oh great. So I turned on. It's 1/4 of the show. They're 25% of the show. A little background.
Oh.
My dad is from Pittsburgh and he loves all Pittsburgh teams. So that it kind of trickled down to me of I like Pittsburgh teams. So as I was watching right before, I was like, oh man, how are they going to do the Steelers like that? They only give them a quarter of the time.
They're
But,
only like have the most Super Bowls in
yeah.
history, I think, besides the Patriots. So,
But that
got to do them
documentary,
dirty.
Hard Knocks is actually really good for the Schaffs of the world, as well
Ooh.
as if you're not into football, it's really about the off life of the players, and you see their family life, you see them at home, you see them with their kids and their wives, and I think that's really interesting to see like the in between what's happening. We see them on the game day, we see them during the game, and this shows you a lot of the behind the scenes.
They're just regular people living in these massive mansions.
Yeah,
I just assume they're all like in that movie. What was it, Al Pacino? And it was like
Oh,
the
He
football
Got a
movie.
huge.
Yeah.
Any Given
And
Sunday.
Any Given Sunday, and they're all
Yeah.
just like doing cocaine in the shower and like, all that kind of stuff. Like I just assume all athletes are like that. But no, I'm just kidding.
There's
They had
so
another-
many names.
They had another one,
Hoorah!
Kevin, I don't know if you watched on Netflix. They have a Starting Five documentary, and it's following 5 NBA players, and it's very similar to Hard Knocks, where it's like they're off seas, they're off lives, and all of them are dads, all of them are fathers. One of them becomes a dad during the show, like he has a baby during the
That's
show.
cool.
So I'm very interested in those type of documentaries of the athletes and what they are going through outside of the games that they're playing. And then Shaw, you forgot to mention you're a casual wrestling fan, professional wrestling. Even Shaw has an analog, an avatar in the professional wrestling world, LA Knight. He looks exactly like Shaw. Same abs, same
It's
body,
true.
same muscle.
It's true.
Nice.
The reason why we have this video sort of framed this way is because if you really saw the muscles I was working with, I mean, first of all, you'd have to like pause the video and go like take care of yourself. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
would be too much.
Woo!
It really is.
Hot and heavy. That's why I've got the extra layers
me
on.
for
I'm
a second.
trying to hide what I'm working with. Yeah.
Yes.
So
So Shaw, I'm also a kind of a casual wrestling fan. I was a huge professional wrestling fan as a kid, but I introduced my wife to professional wrestling a couple years ago, and she was like, "There's storylines." And as soon as I told her there was storylines, then she became interested. Oh, it's like a
yeah,
soap
it's a
opera.
freaking soap opera. It's a soap opera for guys. It really
Yeah.
is. Like
So
Yeah.
I casually keep up with WWE and some of the stuff in the background. Not hardcore, but I like a lot of those things.
I was
I
a big
feel
fan of SmackDown back in the day.
yeah.
So I didn't have cable growing up, and so like it was on UPN 30.
Yeah.
Was
Yes.
was the
Man.
network, and I got into it because shortly after SmackDown came on, it was the Cindy Margolis show, and I was like, not gonna miss that.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
at that era, right?
Wow, that
You know,
takes me back.
Yes.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
all of a similar age and a similar era, so we have a lot of things that we relate to. And
Can I tell a Cindy Margolis story?
Oh yeah, go
Please,
ahead.
Real
I'd love to
quickly?
hear it.
So Cindy Margolis, she's swimsuit model. Would
She was the
be-
most Googled woman, I think, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
I remember that.
you know,
I remember that. Yeah.
until
So-
Jenna Jameson
Sure.
came along, and then it was like,
before Google and all that, when really you had to get pictures from like magazines and
mhm.
whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna commit to what's the word? I'm gonna confess to a crime. I'm about to confess to a crime on this podcast right now. I would rip pages out of magazines in the store, fold them up, shove them in my pants, leave the store, go back home, and I'd have a binder, a binder with like the like the clear pages, whatever that you'd stick like
Mhm.
thing in it, and I would put the
Yeah.
magazine pages in there. Not
Wow.
because of what you think, okay?
No, I wasn't
just
going
to
there.
keep them in good shape, just to keep them flatten
Yeah.
them out because they had been in my pants,
Oh sure,
Mhm.
sure.
But I would do
Yeah.
that with Cindy Margolis. I would do that with Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Oh yeah.
I would do that with Carmen Electra,
Oh
Mm.
yeah.
Brooke Burke.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Very familiar with her work. Mhm.
huge.
My
talent.
My favorite was Kathy Ireland.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Gosh, Elle McPherson.
Yep.
And what was the big one? Cindy. Blah. I can't remember her last name. Cindy Crawford. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, I don't know that name like escaped me. But yeah, those were like the big three.
We're definitely showing our age, by the way. The choice
Yeah.
of these women, like
these are
every single one of
grandmothers
them.
now. These are grandmothers now. So,
Cindy
Yeah.
Margolis is 50.
wow, she did
Wow,
not
she
age
still looks
well.
great.
59.
I'm sitting there
That's
thinking
a
she
funny
didn't age well.
Oh no. Okay, well you can't have her then, Kev. Sorry.
I'm
You're
good. I'm
happily
good.
married for 10 years. Look at me. I'm
I love my wife.
unshackled.
Yes, she's all yours, Shoff.
We all have that connection of like the time period that we grew up, the pop culture that we have ingested over time. And then we've also, at certain points of our lives, lived in the same geographical area. Kevin and I used to live in Memphis for a little bit.
That's right.
Shoff and I were in Arizona for a little bit, and then Shoff moved away. So we've all
Because of
kind
Vector. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's our
We've all-
ultimate connection. I think people need to understand that Vactor is the apex of this group.
It's true. Put him in the
He
middle.
is, yeah. He's what
Like
brought
Usher
us all
should have been.
together. Yeah, that's funny.
Well, I really enjoy the friendships that I've made over the time. My dad was in the Air Force, so when I was growing up, actually 18 months was the longest I ever lived in one place, location. So I was always moving, making new friends, and then finally for high school, I told my dad, I was like, "Can you just stay still so I can graduate with these guys?" Like, so I ended up in Japan in high school, and we stayed for 3 years, so that was like the longest I stayed in one place. But yeah, just I think that has kind of seeped into my DNA of I like all different aspects, all different cultures, and different types of people, and I'm always enjoying what I can take out of our friendships, our relationships, and everyone has something to give. And I always enjoy bringing all of you guys along. So I'm very happy that we all are in kind of our dad stages of our lives, and we're still keeping up with pop culture, keeping up with all these things. So that's why I wanted to bring you guys into the mix. And I said, this is a perfect kind of synergy of three. This is the perfect it's three something that we can get together.
The power of three.
Yes, the power of many is all together here on this podcast.
So Rev Kev was talking about how his dad sat him down and had him watch Star Wars, and that kind of was like the beginning of it all for him. And I was thinking about, for myself, it was definitely not my dad. Like my dad is not into that stuff. As far as I really know, like he likes movies, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't classify him as a sci-fi fan. I wouldn't classify him as a superhero fan, although he's probably seen some things. He's much more of a sports fan than anything else. That's like the thing that trumps everything. For me, it was my uncle, my mom's brother, who's also my godfather. He was a big Star Trek fan and loved all of the Marvel superheroes and DC superheroes. He would sing like the old songs to me, like Doc Bruce Banner, built by gamma rays, turned into the Hulk. Like I only know that stuff because of him, and action figures because of him, all of that. So I owe a lot to him. Comic books, especially. I have a very sacred collection of 1960s and 70s comic books from the Marvel Avengers era, and I mean I love them to pieces. He left them for me. Unfortunately, my uncle passed away a few years back, but I'm so grateful to him for introducing me to everything. And so it's like he was very much in that sense my introduction to this awesome world. And I think about like I definitely want to be that person for my girls, even if they're not like going to be geeks or nerds. Like I definitely want to properly introduce them to stuff. And you know, see where that leads, right? Like, because who knows? Like, there are these canvases right now. They're not like they're not masterpieces yet. They can be there, or they will be no matter what. But like, we have the chance to shape and mold, and they'll grasp things that maybe we don't even want them to. You know.
I'm gonna share a story. So my sister, who's 4 years younger than me, so she had two older brothers, and then my dad. And so she, by that attrition, had to endure all of the guy movies. And what was cool about that for her is that she loves Marvel films. More importantly, her favorite trilogy is The Lord of the Rings. So like, I remember like one of her boyfriends like came to me. He's like, dude, do I have you to thank for that, or your dad, or what? Like, because you know, for guys to have a girl that's really interested in the same stuff they are, like that kind of stuff, that's a big deal. You know, so like it is really cool that you are shaping your daughters and getting them into those type of things, and you know that'll make them very well rounded and stuff, which is pretty neat. So. Because there's stigmas, like girls aren't supposed to like that stuff, which is crap. But you know, so
I'm currently doing a Lego Advent calendar right now, as I do that every year. And this year was the first time I did it with my daughter Emily, and she's 4, and so like she's not quite great with like the tiny Lego pieces, and especially the Advent calendars are all tiny little pieces. But she loves the idea of opening something, and it's a Disney themed one for her, so it's like a great introduction. But I have a Harry Potter one, and my youngest, who's 2.5, she wanted to. She always loves to play with the little minifigures, and she was holding Harry Potter, and I was like, "Do you know who this is?" I was like, "This is Harry Potter," and she goes, "Harry Pothole." So it's just like so funny to hear like what she was calling him, and I love those moments when like this is the introduction, this is the beginning, and I'll always remember like when she's older and she's actually like watching the Harry Potter movies, and maybe she's going and visiting the Wizarding World, or she's you know, so into it that she has sorted herself into Ravenclaw or something. Like I'll be like, you know what you used to call Harry Potter?
Very pothole.
Harry Pothole.
That is
So I just
fantastic.
love that stuff. I love that, and I love being a dad. I do love being a dad.
Yeah, and that's what I really want to get out of this podcast is not just the same old of us talking about, hey, we like this show or we like this thing, but um, how are our lives different after becoming fathers? And what was the experience like of our childhoods, our growing up? And then how are we passing that down? Because when I look at my son, Ezra, he's just now starting to kind of become aware of pop culture things. And he's in that phase of he wants to imitate everything that I'm doing. So I'll set him up with a video game. All right, here's your Mario Kart. You can play. Now daddy can go play Halo, right? And then he immediately, as soon as he sees me playing, he stops the Mario Kart. Daddy, I want to play Halo. And so I'll let him play Halo. And then I'm like, well, what is daddy gonna play? So then I go to Mario Kart. Okay, now I want to play Mario Kart. So he wants to do everything that I'm doing right now, but I like I- I'm trying to kind of that delicate balance of I don't want to force it on him, and I don't want
Hmm.
him to like rebel against it and say, "Oh, I hate Star Wars because you forced it down my throat." But I'm trying to slowly introduce it to him and say, "Hey, you might like this. You might like. You're named after this character." So we're slowly kind of indoctrinating him into the geek world that is my household. But as far as my father and the way that I was up raised, he did. I would say he introduced me to sports. That was where I think I first started liking the NBA and basketball. Was my dad. Um, Magic Johnson was my favorite player because he was my dad's favorite player,
Hmm.
and my dad also introduced me to comic books. Superman and the Flash were my dad's favorite characters, so then they were my favorite characters. So he didn't. I think he was kind of like your dad, Schaff, where he wasn't, you know, outwardly. He wasn't going to Comic Con. He wasn't reading comics, but he would tell me, "Hey, when I was a kid, we we played baseball, we traded trading cards, and we read comic books. And these are things that we did when I was a kid." And he kind of passed that down to me through that. And I was like, "Oh, okay. You like these characters. Now let me try these characters on." And so he would buy me action figures, and the Tim Burton's Batman movie came out, and like all here's all the Batman merch from the Tim Burton movie. So he kind of passed it down that way, but he wasn't himself an active consumer in it. So I think that's going to be a difference with Ezra. I'm actively consuming these things, and I still
Hmm.
love these things in my 40s. I'm just wondering how that's going to affect him. So it'll be
That's
interesting.
a great distinction because I want to be clear about my father. Like, not a comic book guy, and certainly not like an avid, like, mythos, like, into all of these things like Superman and Star Wars. I think my dad just really enjoyed a good movie,
Mm-hmm.
and those were the movies he really liked watching because it was like that or Officer and a Gentleman. There was no contest, right? It was going to be, Star Wars or whatever. But what's really cool, and I know it's a podcast about dads, but like my mom, when like my dad would travel, my mom would take that opportunity to watch like Pretty Woman and Officer and a Gentleman and Ghost and Dirty Dancing and all those movies, and I'd watch them with her, and I liked those movies as much as I liked all the other ones. So it kind of made me a really well-rounded person. But like at the end of the day, it was always that sense of adventure that the movies, the Spielberg films, Lucas films, all that stuff gave me that I really enjoyed. And it was like I was going on that adventure with my dad or my brother or whomever. And but my uncle, I have to bring my uncle because Shafi brought your uncle up. My uncle Charlie was really big into Godzilla and monster flicks and
Ooh,
Frankenstein
yeah.
and all that. And he really got me into that type of stuff as I got older. And that was like my first, and I'm not talking like American versions of Godzilla. I'm talking like the original, like Japanese Gojira and like
Yeah.
all of those things. Like it was very like, and so I really geeked out on that stuff. Like, and then my comic book introduction actually came through just somebody I knew at school. And it was so easy for me to get into that stuff because I had already had all these other things that I was exposed to, through my dad, my uncle, and others. And then, your friends, they gear you into those. But you bring a good up point. Like the way I'm raising Christian and Callan is like they like all these things because I like all these things. Like my son Christian has Ninja Turtle bed sheets, and like he likes them because dad likes Ninja Turtles. Like he has Spider-Man stuff because dad likes Spider-Man, and like but they have their own things too that I didn't grow up with, like Disney cars. My boys love cars, and like now I've gotten into cars and like Hot Wheels and stuff like that. Like my brother was all into that stuff growing up, but like now like these boys love cars and Hot Wheels, and every time we're driving around, they're like, "Dad, it's a race car." And so it's like Callan, my 2-year-old, he's like, "Daddy, can you buy me a red race car?" And I'm like, "Yes." With that cute little voice, I'll buy you anything you want. So, but
Ezra's the exact same way, and I remember having micro machines and Hot
oh
Wheels as a
yeah,
kid.
Yes.
But I never it never went further than that. And
hmm
he's in that stage now too, where everything has to be cars or monster trucks. Those are the two
hmm
things that he
oh yeah,
loves.
monster trucks
And
are awesome.
every day he asks me, "Can I have a new car?" And I was like, "Oh man, they have them for $1 at the grocery store here." So I'm kind of like, "All right, I'll get you one for $1." But he has at least 50 right now, and he just dumps them all over the floor. And it's like I gotta pick them up
Well,
every
You're
day.
gonna need
we're
to get
getting
that one
we're
that's like a T-Rex, and it stores them all. You're
Oh
gonna need
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
So we have the tire that you store them all in, and like now relatives are getting the kids like Hot Wheels stuff for Christmas, and like
Well,
Well,
Hot
actually,
Wheels has like a whole
city.
well, not just that, but it's like more relevant again because of the Netflix show. Have you guys seen
Yeah.
that?
Oh
Are your
Oh,
yes,
boys?
so my
I,
my boys love it. They
My
love
girls
that
love
Ezra loves
it.
show.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're really into it. In fact, I had to get some Hot Wheels tracks like a month or so ago because
that's
they were so
awesome.
into the Hot
Yeah.
Wheels show. I was so surprised that they like latched onto it, but they were really into it and they choose to watch it over because like for me, like right now for like what we're watching, it's almost always Frozen
hmm
2, Moana, or a bunch of like princess shows on Disney Plus or like Pinkalicious on Amazon Prime.
Mm.
I'm sorry, Prime Video. Like Netflix, Gabby's Dollhouse. I'm like Doc McStuffins. Like the stuff
Yes.
I'm watching is all like female protagonists playing with dolls or whatever,
hmm
and like it's cute, but it's definitely not my cup of tea, right? So for me, it's like any chance that I have to like have those moments with the girls is so fantastic. Emily, my oldest, she wanted Spidey stickers when we were at Target. I was like,
hmm
yeah, I'll get you Spidey stickers happily. So I got her these stickers, and one of the pages was all villains. And she just out of nowhere, she grabbed the paper of all the villains and she starts pointing them out and she's saying, Rhino, Green Goblin, Doc Ock. My little geek heart was so happy, so like thrilled, and it was just such a precious moment that it was important to her to remember those, memorize those, and then tell daddy about them like in a very proud way. And I was just like, this is great.
Well,
She might have all like the princess interests of a normal little girl, right? But she also can embrace like a geeky side too, and I was really happy about that.
so I'm gonna inverse that. Like Christian loves Frozen. He loves like I think if he could meet Anna, like he would marry her today. Like but like on the other side of
And
that,
they
he
finish
likes to
each
meet.
other's sandwich.
Yeah, make eat each other. Yeah, finish each other's sentences and sandwiches. But like he like loves the music too. Like I think he's a
Mm.
music and drama nerd in like the making and
Mm.
stuff. And because my wife and I were both in like chorus in high school and
Ah.
music and drama and stuff like that. But like where I was going with this is I love how these pop culture things like the Amazing Spider-Man and Hot Wheels and things like that have the diversity in them to where little girls see girl characters in the show that they can relate to, or you have girl Spider-Man villains like Doc Ock and things like that, where they see themselves in those characters, and I think that's really neat because it opens it up to them. And even if there wasn't there, it still would be fine. Girls can play with GI Joes, boys can play with Barbies.
Oh yeah,
And
totally.
it all washes out in the end, and stuff like that. They're kids. they have to expand their minds and do whatever, you know. So, but I do think it's really neat how they have, you know, expanded that interest and stuff, which I think is really cool. And it's all
Yeah, that is
marketing. At the end of the day, it's
right.
marketing, right? They make
Right.
money off of this and stuff like that. It's a bigger market, and that's all that matters.
I think there
Yeah.
is a much less like there's a much grayer line now than when we were growing up. It was like, all right, He Man is for boys and My Little Pony is for girls, and you know, like there
Hmm.
was a strict. This is blue. This is pink, and you.
Hmm.
If a girl likes Ghostbusters, wait a minute, or like girls aren't supposed to like Star Wars. Like, I feel like today in the modern audiences, oh yeah, you can like anything you want, like any franchise or My Little Pony has the bronies and everybody can like Star Wars and it's more open and inclusive to everyone. So
Well,
I
they've
do
removed
like
some
that.
of the stigmas with it too, you know, and then again, they've created characters that, um, you know, can bring that audience in. You know, like when Disney created Aladdin, right? It was an attempt to get 13, you know, 10-year-old boys to watch Disney movies because like princesses weren't popular with 10-year-old boys. So it's like, how do we make a guy character? All right, Aladdin, you know, and it worked, right? But it didn't work for Hunchback of Notre Dame, and it didn't work for some of the other things, right? So what they do, they go and buy Star Wars, they go and buy Marvel
Mm.
and stuff like that. So again, it's all business and marketing. So
Yeah, 100%. And Kevin is the marketing master. So
That's
you're gonna have
right.
to give us more insights as this podcast progresses and the weeks go on.
mhm.
But we are also, because we are busy dads, we're gonna try to keep this show to a maximum 45 minutes. If we come in under that, that's fine. But we do have other things in our lives that we have to attend to.
That means Rev Kev has got to control the sermons.
For the final segment of the show, for this first introduction episode, I wanted to ask, what is one thing that we want to work on over the next week as dads to be better at?
Mm.
Let's start with the man himself, Jimmy Shaw.
That's a great question. You know, and I think that it's really a great mindset to have, that always be working on something, right? Like from a standpoint of, especially as a dad, like there's going to be situations that pop up that are new situations, even though like these are kids you've been around for years, right? Like you know them in and out. They will continue to surprise, and new scenarios will pop up that you're like, I don't know what to do here. But for me, one thing that I'm struggling with right now is Sage is 2.5, and she's entering a very independent and sort of like fiery, fiercely independent phase. And with that comes a lot of screaming, a lot of tantrums, and and a lot of resistance, and that can be really challenging as a parent, especially as a single parent, when you don't have any others, like you don't have your spouse to sort of like step in if things get too hot, you know, where you're like, I'm just losing my mind. Like there is nobody to tag in sometimes,
Mhm.
and that can be really tough. So for me, like I always have to remind myself, you know, stay calm, you know, like keep it at a de-escalating tone, listen, be patient. So I think for me, like what I'm going to do this next week is just continue, especially in this current phase where Sage is at right now. It's like, I just have to be, I have to be the calm one. I can't join her where she's at. I need her to join me where I'm at. And I think the best way to do that is you just have to de-escalate. So, and she gets there. She gets there. So I think like that's what I'm going to work on, is staying patient, staying kind, and staying soft in that way. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that.
Thank you.
Rev Kev,
Well,
what's one thing that you want to work on?
it's interesting. Schaff just gave me some great advice. You know, I think everything he just outlined is kind of where I struggle as a dad. You know, being the father of two boys, you know, my kids are very wild, And I don't mean like they're feral creatures that are just like, unhinged all the time, although I have said that a few times. But it's like they are, they're boys. Boys crave adventure. They crave excitement. They crave, all those things. Venture, excitement. You know, but they need to be outside climbing trees and doing all these things. I mean, all kids do, but I think, boys more in general, they hunger for that. And it's hard because I can't always give that to them, the weather and all those kind of things. And so, it's just keeping them entertained, but it's like being patient with them when things are at a high, tantrum fuse. And so Callan, like Sage, is, he's about to turn 3. So he is going through a lot of development right now. He is like, the tantrums are at an all-time high, like
Yeah.
flopping himself on the floor. He copies his brother. I don't like you, and like he kicks me, and it's like, instead of blowing my fuse, which is what my father did, it is, yeah, I have to remain calm, right? I can't stoop to their level, and things like that. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's not. And some days are harder than others, and some days are easier than others. I have the benefit, unlike Schaff, where I have my wife I can tag in. But sometimes it's like, good cop, bad cop doesn't even work,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And so I think just, yeah, working on the same things, especially with the holidays ramping up, because there's so much excitement going on at school, parties, and, they know Santa's coming. They know all these things are happening. My oldest just had his birthday. So like, he basically had a birth month. Like, we took him to a football game. We took him to his grandparents for a week, got to see his cousins, and like lots of travel. And now he's back. And so he's had multiple parties and things like that, and just attention. And now it's kind of over. And then it's like, oh, but Christmas is ramping up. So there's all this expectation. So it's like, how do I continue to make all that special and fun so that they have the memories that we are talking about on this show, like that we have? But at the same time, like, I got to be the dad. I got to be a parent. I got to, hey, you're out of line, and, things like that. So just, I think being patient is the key. Like, I'm a man of faith, and it says love is patient, love is kind, and I know that's a way overused Bible verse, but it's true. And I don't often live that, and I think love is a verb. And what does love require of me is a question I have to ask every single day, and it requires me to do the thing that I am not good at, which is being patient. So yeah, that's the thing I'm going to work on the most.
Nice, Revkev. Thank you.
I
Yeah.
think that'll be the theme of this week is patience. That I'm the exact same as both of you. There's no difference there. Ezra, when he's upset at something or when he's frustrated with something, just trying to work on having the patience of not, you know, he's not like me. He's not at an
Hmm.
emotional state that I'm in yet. He's not aware of, how to handle his emotions and can control them at this point. So just having the knowledge of, hey, it's going to get better. He's going to change. He's not going to be like this forever. And I think that's an important thing to put in perspective of all of the things that we deal with for our children is the only constant is change. There's always going to be something
Hmm.
different. They're always going to be constantly evolving. It's never going to be the same, over and over and over again. It's all these things are temporary. Shoff and I used to talk about seasons. Like this is a temporary season in our kids' lives, and we
Just a
it
phase.
feels
It's just
yeah,
a
it feels
phase.
like forever at this point. But I know we're gonna get to the point where we're like, oh, they're 18 and they're gone. The phase is like I kind of we miss those phases of
Yeah.
when they were younger
Seven
and then
thousand 7,000 days from crib to college.
oh
Think
wow,
about that for a
dang,
minute. Yeah.
dang,
When you put that into perspective, it's wild. Yeah.
yeah. But Ezra, he has like a huge heart, and he wears on his sleeve. He's he's very emotional, and he comes up to me like more recently. He's been giving me hugs and Daddy, I miss you when you're gone, and like saying it out loud, like I miss you,
Hmm.
and it's as each, like I said, each phase happens and he's changing and evolving, um, just kind of keeping in perspective of this is going, the bad parts are going to pass, but we're always going to have these good memories of our children. So that's a good theme that we can have for this week, Shaw. Patience. Patience is a virtue,
Patience. I love it.
and it's something that we should all strive for as three busy dads dadding to the future. Well, this was a great first episode. I'm very happy that we're doing this, boys, that the audience can get to know both of you as I already do. I already know these things about you, but I'm glad that we can get this episode out and our audience can know more about us. And moving forward, as we go on a weekly basis, we'll have this lens of who is Kevin, who is Vactor, who is Schaff, and how are their opinions on these things shaped by who the men that they are. So I think this is going to be very interesting. But please stay tuned. Week to week, we're going to be talking about all of the things that we are consuming and enjoying. And we're going to be talking about our lives as dads because each week there's always something interesting, funny and heartwarming about our tales that we can say about each other. So, thank you very much for joining us on this inaugural episode. We will be
Subscribe.
back next week. You
Subscribe.
can please subscribe to our channel. And actually, if you're a dad, leave a comment down below of maybe something that you want to work on or something that your father passed down on to you.
Or
And
father-like figure. If
I was going to say, it
Yeah,
doesn't have to
totally.
be biological,
yeah.
but what is something, a lesson that you learned that was passed down to you? We love hearing all of these things in the comments. So please give us a subscribe and share us with your friends and family because I think everyone can relate to either being a son, being a child, or relating to family members, passing it down to the next generation, being parents or being children themselves. So at some point, you're going to be one of those things at some point in your life, if not both. All right, boys, let's get out of here. We will see y'all next week.